Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced that Mohammed Sinwar, a key Hamas chief and the younger brother of the group's leader Yahya Sinwar, has been eliminated. The statement, reported by Reuters, marks a significant development in Israel's ongoing campaign against Hamas. Meanwhile, at a trilateral summit in Laken, Azerbaijan, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan condemned Israel's actions against Palestinians. Speaking alongside leaders of Pakistan and Azerbaijan, Erdogan called for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza and demanded the uninterrupted delivery of humanitarian aid to the besieged territory.
We call on the entire world from here to increase pressure on Israeli administration for establishing permanent ceasefire in Gaza and for taking uninterrupted emergency humanitarian aid into Gaza.
Erdogan described Israel's policies as relentless cruelty and expansionist and said the international system is drifting into a crisis of legitimacy. He emphasized Turkey's determination to defend innocent lives in Gaza and called on the global community to increase pressure on the Israeli administration.
The clearest example of the crisis of the international system is Israel's relentless cruelty and expansionist policies in Palestine.
Amid escalating tensions, the U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has reported that aid distribution in Gaza continues without incident. A second distribution site has been opened with over 14,500 food boxes handed out. Each box provides enough food for 5.5 people over 3.5 days, totaling more than 840,000 meals. However, the United Nations Human Rights Office reports that 47 people were injured by Israeli gunfire while attempting to receive food aid. Ajit Sunghay, head of the UN office in the occupied Palestinian territory, confirmed the injuries occurred during aid distribution managed by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. The specific locations were not disclosed. Italy's Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani has also weighed in, demanding that Israel halt its military strikes on Gaza. Speaking to Parliament, he warned that the expulsion of Palestinians from the territory is not and never will be an acceptable option. Tajani acknowledged Israel's right to respond to Hamas' October 7 attack but stressed that the scale of the Israeli response has become tragic and unacceptable. He called for the immediate resumption of humanitarian assistance, the release of hostages held by Hamas, and full respect for international humanitarian law. Tajani also condemned any proposed plans for the forced displacement of Palestinians and expressed support for the Arab plan led by Egypt for Gaza's recovery and reconstruction. On the diplomatic front, France and Indonesia have jointly called for renewed efforts toward a two-state solution. During French President Emmanuel Macron's visit to Jakarta, both countries issued a statement promoting mutual recognition between Israel and Palestine. Macron reaffirmed France's commitment to a two-state solution and announced a joint conference with Saudi Arabia in New York to revive the peace process. Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto stated that Indonesia would be willing to recognize Israel only if it also recognizes a Palestinian state. He emphasized that this is the only path to lasting peace.
Indonesia sudah menyampaikan begitu negara Palestina diakui oleh Israel, Indonesia siap untuk mengakui Israel dan kita siap untuk membuka hubungan diplomatik dengan Israel.
Finally, Pope Leo has issued a heartfelt plea for a ceasefire in Gaza. Speaking from St. Peter's Square, the pontiff urged both Israel and Hamas to respect international humanitarian law. He lamented the ongoing suffering in Gaza, highlighting the cries of parents mourning their dead children. These global responses reflect growing calls for restraint, peace, and accountability in the region.